Bizarre stories from the subscribers. Ha 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 ha.
Hi Leo Augusto, how are you? My son watches your channel. I'm Francisca. João is 10 years old and I was always asking him to go wash the dishes after meals, right? I think it's a pretty simple task, right? But he was always making up an excuse. He said there was a bug in the sink drain that he was scared and didn't want to go. I thought it was just the kid being lazy, just a child trying to get out of doing chores. So I insisted anyway. Go on, João, wash those dishes properly. That's what I said, trying to bring some order to the situation. But the boy did everything poorly. He washed in a hurry, left the plates still dirty, with food stuck on them, and the silverware barely scrubbed. It didn't even seem like he had been near the sink. I looked at that and got angry. What a sloppy job, João. One day I got tired of it. I told him that if he didn't do it right, there would be punishment. If you keep up with this behavior, you're going to face the consequences, you hear? I warned him, thinking that a little firmness would solve it. He would grumble, make a face, but he would go. But one night I told him to do the dishes again. He went, but this time his eyes were full of tears. I didn't understand why he acted that way. What a drama from this boy. He's just doing the dishes, kid. I stayed in the living room listening to the sound of water on the dishes, until suddenly, guys, a horrible scream came from the kitchen. My heart froze. I ran over there as fast as I could. When I got there, I saw João holding his arm, crying loudly, and where is it? His hand? Gone. The blood was running on the floor, and he was screaming, "It was the drain monster, Mom, it ate my hand." I was paralyzed. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. What monster, João? There's no monster here. I answered, trying to stay calm, but inside I was in chaos. I looked at the sink drain, wondering if the house had some kind of food grinding system that I didn't know about. But it didn't make sense. It was just an old regular sink. Did he make all this up, or was there really something there? To this day, I don't know. But that scream and that scene won't leave my mind. And I feel responsible for what happened to my son. João, did you hurt yourself with the knife? I don't see anything in the drain or in the sink. Of course not, Mom. I'm going to ask you a question. Where is my hand? Wasn't it supposed to be there, lying on the ground? What he said is true. It happened. I opened the bottom part to check the plumbing and I didn't find anything, just the plumbing destroyed. The next day, I called the plumber and he just thought it was strange that there were cuts in the plastic, as if something sharp had gone through there. Hello, I'm Guinho and I'm going to tell you about something that happened to me and my partner Catraca on a night I'll never forget. We were playing on a dirt road right next to the city cemetery. The sky was already getting dark, you know? The sun was slowly hiding and the night was quietly coming in. We kept kicking the ball back and forth for a long time, having fun, when all of a sudden we heard a weird sound coming from up there inside the cemetery. It was like a hoarse, muffled voice. It sounded like someone asking for help, man. Right away, my heart started racing. We got really scared. What is this, Catraca? Could someone be lost in there? The cemetery was surrounded by really tall walls, and on top there were some shards of glass. A wall that no one can climb without getting cut. But we looked ahead and saw that the gate was still open, and curiosity got the better of us. And we went there to see what it was. We went in slowly, our hearts pounding, looked all around and nothing. We spent about 10 minutes wandering around in there from tombstone to tombstone, trying to see who was talking there, right? Who made that noise? It was total silence. We could only hear the sound of our footsteps on the dry ground. Let's get out of here, because it's already all dark. What's up, buddy? Are you terrified? Why? You're with me. And being with me, you're with God. Not long ago, you were scared out of your mind, man. I'm gonna get out of here. That's when we saw her. A girl standing near the gate. Man, she was really pretty, hair down, and a look that seemed to see right through us. What is a girl like that doing in a rundown place like this? Could she have come to see someone? Visit a relative? Bring some flowers or something like that? but something about her gave me a weird chill, man. Suddenly, she turned to Katraka and started making conversation. She spoke softly with a calm voice, almost hypnotizing. I couldn't really hear what she was saying, but I saw Katraka laughing as if he had forgotten his fear. I, on the other hand, just wanted to get out of there. Man, I think we better get out of here, dude. Let's go. It's weird around here. Damn, the vibe here. Relax, guy. She's just asking something. Chill out, man. I didn't want to know. I turned around and started walking toward the gate. As soon as I stepped outside, the gate slammed shut with a bang, like thunder. I looked back quickly, but there was no one there anymore, not even the turnstile or the girl. In seconds, everything was strange, an absurd silence. I had a bad feeling, but I ran home without looking back again. The next day, Katraka didn't show up. Nothing from him on the street, nothing on the phone. I got worried, but I thought he would show up later. Until his grandmother, Dona Zefa, showed up at my house, her eyes full of tears, asking if I had seen her grandson. My stomach dropped. The last time I saw Katraka was yesterday at Dona Zefa's cemetery. He was with me and the girl we met there. After that I left and he stayed. Dona Zefa looked at me as if I was saying something absurd. So you were together. Then the strange woman showed up? You left, and you left your best friend alone with her. Possibly an organ thief or a kidnapper? I called him, but he didn't want to come. Donna, she ran out saying she was going to look for him, but I already knew something was wrong. I spent all day thinking about it, a lump in my throat. Who was that girl? And that gate slamming out of nowhere? The sudden silence, everyone disappearing. I went to the cemetery again, just to be sure. But everything was locked as if no one was there. Days turned into weeks, and Katraka never showed up again. His grandmother still walks around looking for her grandson. But no one really believes my story. They say I made it up, that it was dark and I saw things that weren't there, but I know what I saw. That girl, she wasn't normal. And sometimes when I walk near that cemetery, I swear I hear my friend's voice calling for help. In other words, that mysterious girl is using his voice to lure me into some kind of trap. Bizarre stories from the subscribers. Ha 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 ha. So can you call me Shad? New student? That was never my thing, but that school seemed to have a special talent for making things complicated. The building was old, with peeling walls that smelled like mold, and the hallway was so poorly lit that the shadows seemed to dance on their own. I was holding my phone, right? Looking at the school map, trying to find out where room 310 was. On the 3rd floor, that's where I needed to go, to hand a form to the secretary. The bell had already rung, and the silence was heavy, broken only by the buzzing of the fluorescent lights flickering above me. Buzz, buzz. As I walked down the hallway, I counted the doors. 301, 302, 303, until I reached 312. I stopped, confused. Huh? Where's 310? I went back past 312, retracing my steps, carefully checking the numbers, but nothing changed. There were 12 doors and none of them was the one I wanted. The hallway seemed longer than it should, as if every step took me to the wrong place. It must just be exhaustion. But when I turned my head, I saw something that made me freeze. In the corner of the hallway, where before there was only a peeling white wall, now there was a 13th door. What the hell was that? It didn't look like the others, nothing like the gray metal of the classrooms. It was made of dark wood, with a rusty latch that gave the impression it hadn't been touched in centuries. A chill ran up my neck. There was no number on the door, only deep scratches, as if someone had tried to open it with their fingernails. I glanced to the side, hoping to find a teacher, janitor, or anyone, right? But the hallway was deserted. The silence was so immense that I could hear my own heart beating, man. I don't know why I did it, but I put my hand on the doorknob. The metal was cold, almost burning my hand from the chill. I pulled, and the door opened with a low creak. Subtitles: Adriana Zanotto. Subtitles: Adriana Zanotto. It was a child's voice, but it seemed to come from far away, echoing from a wrong turn. Thirst. I looked around, but there was no one there. The shadow on the wall was darker now, with shapes that resembled a tall, crooked person. Suddenly it moved, imitating footsteps. Even though I was standing still, my stomach churned. Who's there? This is a prank. There was no answer, but something hit inside one of the desks. A dull sound as if a book had fallen there. I ran to the door in desperation, grabbed the handle and pulled hard, but it wouldn't budge. I hadn't left this door open. Why is it locked now? My chest tightened, panic rose. I stood there struggling, pulling at that thing until suddenly I was back in the hallway. I fell to the floor, gasping, my heart in my throat. When I get up and look back, the door had gone up and I was in front of room 312. As if nothing had happened, my partner, I checked my phone trembling. The map now showed room 310, as if it had always been there. I ran over there and handed in the form without even looking at the secretary's face. And I flew down the stairs, swearing I would never set foot on that bizarre floor again. But the image of that room wouldn't leave my mind. I dreamed about the hallway, only now I was trapped inside it, surrounded by dusty walls, turns, and shadows that had my face. When I woke up sweating, I went to check my backpack, just to make sure it was all in my mind. But then I saw it at the bottom of the side pocket, where I keep my keys. There was something that shouldn't be there. The wooden door handle, the rusty one, with the same scratches I saw in the room. I held the cold metal in my hand, and for the first time I wondered if I had really left that place. Bro, I dropped episode 2 of Cartoon Cat vs. Siren Head. This beef is still going on, my friends. And we have many other titles at Leo's store over on WhatsApp. Add this number, bro, and I'll send you the available list of all of Leo's comics. Alright? Can you call me Marquito? I'm not the type who likes mysteries. But when I found that note in my backpack, something changed. There was a crumpled piece of paper hidden among my books with crooked letters that said, "You have been chosen. Midnight Gym, don't tell anyone." I thought it was some stupid prank, from some crazy kid, just a classmate trying to mess with me, right? But curiosity got the better of me. After all, what did I have to lose? The school at night had a whole different vibe, man. It was almost like it turned into a different place. The hallways were dark, with echoes of doors slamming in the distance, and the air felt heavier, like it was carrying some kind of mystery. I got to the gym, a place that never had practice after hours, and I felt a chill. Man, right then, I pushed the door and my heart skipped a beat. Inside, there were 5 figures waiting for me, sitting in a circle on the floor, lit by candles that flickered as if they were alive. They were students, I think, but I couldn't really recognize them. It was dark, like I said. Their faces looked familiar, like I had seen them before. One of them, who seemed like the leader, was older, with eyes that didn't blink and a smile that didn't look natural. That guy over there looks fake. Welcome to the club, Marquito, he told me as if he knew me very well. I wanted to ask what was going on, but before I could open my mouth, he recited a bunch of rules. Never leave before the end, never ask how you got here, never look at the windows. I felt like laughing, saying it was all nonsense, but his voice had a weight that made me swallow my words. The meetings were bizarre. They talked about things I never told anyone. The nickname my mother used when she was angry. The argument I had with my best friend last week. Something was always wrong. Once I found in the circle a keychain I lost when I was a kid, just lying there like it was nothing. Another night, one of the girls was holding a picture of me from when I was about 5 years old, one I didn't even know existed. What's that? I tried to pretend that everything was fine, but my stomach churned every time the candles flickered. On the second night, I messed up. I broke a rule. I don't know why, but I looked at the window. My reflection was there, but it wasn't me. And it was smiling in a way that gave me chills. It wasn't my smile. I turned quickly to the circle, but it was empty. The candles were still there, burning. But everyone else, they were all gone. The next day, I told a friend about it. He was really scared because he had already received a note like that. Since it was really late, he decided not to go. He thought he was going to get pranked by the guys, so he didn't go. He opened his wallet and pulled it out of his pocket. It was a note very similar to the one I received. I still don't know what happened that night, but at least nothing bad happened to me, right? But that stayed on my mind, like, how did they know all those things about me? And if you want to send a story to appear in this segment here, just send it to this email. Look, inscritosleo@gmail.com. Alright? Bizarre stories from the subscribers. Hi Leo, I'm Felipe, 11 years old from Pernambuco. One day I visited my grandmother's house. It's a really nice place there. One time I was there sleeping, in the bedroom together with my mom. Then Leo, I heard some strange noises and dogs barking. The noises were like a horse neighing, but really deep. My mom heard it too. She said she was going to check what was going on. It's not possible at this hour. There's all this noise outside. She went to the kitchen, and in my grandma's house, there's an area where the bathroom is. My mom saw a crack in the door, looked outside, and saw the black creature walking on all fours. Its eyes were red, and she also saw a bunch of the neighbor's dogs outside. They were circling around the creature. The creature was there holding a dead ox. It looked like it wanted to eat the ox, but it got scared of the dogs and left the carcass aside. As it was leaving, my mom got scared and ran back to the room where she was. Since I was already awake, right? She told me everything she saw, and I was shaking with fear. My grandma woke up and came into our room, maybe because she noticed we were there. She stayed awake, right? Then we told her about the noise, man, and my mom told my grandma about the creature. She said she had been hearing those noises for some time, but she always ignored them. She said that one day, my grandfather was walking in the woods with my uncle and saw that same creature eating a cow. My grandfather tried to attack it by throwing a knife, but the creature saw both of them. It dodged the knife and ran after them. My uncle, since he was young, ran ahead, leaving Veko behind. She said my grandfather was never the same after that incident. He got home unharmed but didn't say anything about it. It became taboo to talk about it. She never heard the noises again, and the creature vanished. Today, no one knows about it.
Maybe Disappearance was the first one after a long time.
But what kind of creature is that looks like a horse and eats cattle? You were lucky it didn't eat the dogs that were barking around, right? Are you crazy, Mano? I just released episode 2 of Cartoon Cat vs. Siren Head. That fight is still going on, my friends, and we have many other titles at Leo's store, over on ZAP. Add this number, Mano, and I'll send you the full list of all of Leo's comics. Alright, hi Leo, how are you? My name is Ivan and I'm 14 years old. And I'm going to tell you a story that happened a few weeks ago, man. I'm still in disbelief about what happened. I have a friend named Eric. We're inseparable. Near his house, there's an abandoned soccer field. The kids used to go there to play soccer, then take off, There were always some soccer games in the late afternoon, right? There was a building there that used to be a locker room, but it was abandoned and the walls were covered in graffiti. Man, everything there was all deteriorated. And there was a legend that someone had been killed by a chainsaw in there. Even though we knew about that creepy story, we were there almost every day, playing our little soccer games, even when there weren't many people around. One day, we finally decided to explore the locker room inside. It was there behind the field. We arrived and saw the door half open. Inside, the smell was terrible. Man, it smelled like rotten meat. The air was heavy and I couldn't stop looking at the exit. Something in my mind was screaming, "Get out of there, something's going to happen." But curiosity spoke louder and we stayed inside. Did some animal die here in this Katinga? That must be it. Suddenly we heard a noise. The exit door slammed shut, making a loud noise, and then we heard... The sound was of a chainsaw being started, really loud and scary. My heart started racing. We were paralyzed for a second until Eriko shouted, "Open this door!" We pushed with all our strength, but the door wouldn't open until we saw someone coming out from inside. A completely dark thing, man, and it was carrying a chainsaw. Man, sparks were flying everywhere, dude. He was walking by the lockers in the old locker room until we kept pushing the door and it opened. And as if that wasn't enough, it suddenly started raining out of nowhere. When I looked back, I saw that thing following us, man. He was wearing a white mask, one of those theater ones. It looked like it, right? With a fixed, creepy smile, and his whole body was black. I was running, but the guy kept coming after me until I felt it, man. I was hit in the legs and fell into the puddle, into the water, onto the ground. At that moment, I looked back and didn't see anything anymore. Just my friend helping me get up. Since that day, we never went back there, but the strangest thing happened afterwards. I started having nightmares about that entity that appeared to us almost every night. It's like it invaded my mind, rented a penthouse in my head, that thing. I still have those nightmares to this day, man. But I still wonder, was it the soul of someone murdered there? Or the soul of the murderer himself? I don't know.